Hi there, it's Ryan G. Wright with DoHardMoney.com, and I am coming to you from the Do Hard Money Cafe. Super excited for you to be with me today. And every single day we do a question of the day. And today's question of the day is how to rehab a house for a rental type rehab. So basically, what should I do to rehab my house if I want to do a rental versus doing a fix and flip? That's what we're going to be talking about. And if you have a question of the day, please type it in the comments below, and I would be more than happy to answer that question for you and for everybody else that's going to be interested in it. So let's talk about this whole, how do I do a rehab for a rental? It really just comes down to the area that you're in. You see, one of the big concerns you have when you're doing a rehab for a rental is the quality of the work is not quite as concerning, but the quality of the materials becomes very concerning. This is what I mean by that. You typically are going to want to have things that are rental properties that can deal with some wear and some tear. So for example, you can see right here some of the texture. This is a flat wall texture, and you can even see things have gotten a little bit banged up, and we take really good care of our place. So when you're dealing with a flat wall texture, it doesn't do really well when it gets bangs and dents. So you probably want to do a very high texture when you're dealing with the texture you're going to be doing on the walls. You want to do a pretty heavy texture because it's going to get banged and you can paint over it and it'll look good still. So that's one thing you want to look at. As far as the flooring, if you look here, we've got this killer flooring in here. One of the things you're going to want to look for that is something that's very scratch resistant. You want something that can get scratched and banged up. Tile tends to be more expensive. Unless something's dropped on the tile, it typically lasts longer. So if I'm doing something, I'm going to look at that. Now, one of the big hacks that I like to use quite considerably is rather than replacing tile, let's say it's got tile in a bathroom that looks horrible, what you can do is refinish the tile. And so you come in with a refinisher, they actually spray it, and they spray the tile, which changes the color. And it's the same thing you can do on a bathtub. You can refinish a bathtub. Now, there's two ways to do this. One is a horrible way that doesn't work out, and the other one is actually professional with the right materials. You've got to clean it properly, put the acid on it, then you've got to do the spray. It sticks to it, so it'll last a long time. Some people just try and do it with paint. You've got to have the right chemicals so that that looks good. So that's one of the things. So if I'm going to look at a rental repair property, I'm going to say, what's the budget way that I can get this done? I don't have to have the most high end of light fixtures. I don't have to have the most high end of appliances. One of the things I like to do quite frequently when we're talking about appliances is a Lowe's typically has their scratch indents. So most rental properties, I'll buy scratch and dent appliances to put in there. I'm going to do the heavy texture on the walls we talked about. When it comes to the flooring, I'm going to be careful what I do with the flooring. So I want more of polypropylene based carpets. I typically don't want something with a thick nap. And I don't like Berber carpets. One of the reasons I don't like Berber carpets is if a cat or something gets it, you can pull that string and it'll take a string all the way down. You're going to have to replace the entire carpet. So tend to look, when you're dealing with carpets, to look for more commercial grade carpets. Lots of the commercial grade carpets are going to last a lot longer. And they're going to deal better with spills and that type of stuff. And you don't have to do quite as nice of a pad underneath that carpet when you're dealing with a rental type property. Again, what we're looking for is longevity. What can I put in there that's going to last as long as possible? I'm looking for what can I put in there that I can get for as cheap as possible. Those are the types of things that I'm looking at when I'm dealing with rental type properties. Now, it still needs to look nice. So if you try and go really cheap, you're going to have a hard time renting the property. So what I like to say is it's got to be clean, it's got to be efficient, it's got to be something that's going to last for a long time. But when I'm walking into a type of rental property, or if I'm looking at a new rental property, I'm going in here saying, how can I make this as damage proof as possible? Meaning, what I want to make sure is if I'm going to put something in, like a hardwood or a laminate or something like that, I want to put something that's going to be scratch resistant, something that's going to last a long time, something that's not going to get as banged up, because I want to do as few repairs as possible, and I want the repairs that I'm doing to be able to last as long as possible. So there's a couple of tips that I'm looking at. So the other things that it really comes down to, just like when rehabbing a property, it comes down to kitchens and bathrooms. You can flip the tab and put a granite type countertop in. but I find in most cases it's pretty cost prohibitive. So what I typically do is refinish the countertops just like I do in the bathrooms. So even if they've had a pot spilled on it or something like that that's burnt it, you can come in and refinish those if you do that appropriately. So refinishing is really big. Another thing that you can do is with the cabinets, instead of actually replacing, let's say these cabinets looked horrible, rather than replacing the entire cabinet that can be very expensive, what you do is you actually leave the box the way that it is and you only replace the doors. So all you're doing is replacing these and maybe painting in the interior, but you're only replacing the doors, which can cut down the cost of doing the cabinets by 3/4. You spend about 1/4 of the money, and it looks really nice because you leave the same boxes. Now, that might not always be the case. If you want to change the design, if you've got to change the design and the look, you may have to replace additional cabinets, but if you replace the doors only, that can be something. Another thing that we've done quite frequently is just painting the cabinets. So if I look at the cabinets, rather than replacing them, I may just paint these cabinets, change the color. If it's got some puke ugly color, I'll just paint the cabinet. So again, we're talking about refinishing. We're talking about painting. We're talking about putting big textures on there. We're talking about materials that are going to last a long time. What can I do to get it up there? Now, one of the big things is the place just needs to be clean, tidy, smell good. So one of the things you may be dealing with in a rental type property is smells. If that's the case, you want to get some deodorizers. You want to make sure you get the carpets cleaned or replaced. And the other thing you can look at is actually getting what's called an Ozonator. Most people aren't familiar with these, but an Ozonator is a machine that's used by carpet cleaning companies. You can buy small Ozonators, but an Ozonator basically changes the ions in the air. Kind of smells like, if you remember when you've been in a thunderstorm and there's been some lightning, and right after that lightning you smell it, it smells like, I don't know how to describe it. It smells like there's been lightning. It smells like it feels like tingly type of an idea. So when you've had an experience like that, that's kind of what it smells like with an Ozonator. You bring the Ozonator in and it changes the ions. This works really well if you're dealing with something that have had some pets or some smoking or something like that. If you are dealing with pets and smoking, one of the things you may have to do is rip out the carpets. And one of the things you can do is actually put kills on the floor before you put carpet back in. It's one of the big things I like to do. If I'm going into a property that's just an absolute disaster, with pets and everything else like that, one of the things I like to do is rip up all the carpet, rip up all the pad. Before I paint, what I'm going to do is put an Ozonator in there to help with that. I'm also going to spray a disinfectant or bacteria everywhere, and then I'm going to bring the Ozonator in. The Ozonator stays for a day, and you don't want to be in there while it's running. You take the Ozonator out. Then what I'm going to do is kills the floors, and then by that point, all my smells and those problems should be gone. And then I'm putting in things, like I say, they're going to stand the test of time. So I hope this has been really helpful for you in what to do when you're doing a rehab on a rental property. If you have additional questions, please type them in the comments below. Again, if you've got a question you'd like me to answer for our question of the day, please make sure you type it in the comments below as well. If you find this video to be helpful, please give me a thumbs up. Just hit that thumbs up button. It means a lot to me. You can also consider subscribing to our channel. If you want some help with your real estate investing, whether you're just getting started or whether you're trying to do more deals, check us out over at dohardmoney.com. You can check us out and we can be of help for you. We have tools, we have tips, we have softwares, we have information, you name it. I've also got a couple other videos you're going to be interested in. Over here I've got finding a good rental property, and over here I've got what is a BRRRR deal, a BRR deal. If you find those interesting, check those out. Otherwise, make it a very profitable day, and goodbye for now.